Hello, and welcome to the Do Not Disturb Football Podcast. We gave you the fantasy highlight yesterday. Today, we are starting this show with the fantasy low light. And this comes from none other than the Chicago Bears offense. We wanted to give you a whole different ambiance here today. Yesterday, we had those party lights. This is a much more grave situation here in Chicago. So, just to point out some of the numbers, in the past 3 games, Caleb Williams has scored 6.3 points, 9.18 points, 9.94 points. DJ Moore has scored 5.7 points, 7.3 points, and 5.4 points. Keenan Allen, 9.4 points, 7.6 points, 5.9 points. Cole Kmet, 3.3 points, a big 0, 4.4. Roma Dunze, 5.3, 15.4, 8.4. And the one shining light in this offense is DeAndre Swift up until this past week, where he scored 7.5 points. There's much desperation going on in Chicago right now. For fantasy owners out there, I can't give you any advice. My best advice is don't trust anybody on this offense. DeAndre Swift might be the only guy. For everyone else, they are in the darkness, just like me and Aaron Rodgers. Nim, who do you trust on this offense? What do you have to say for this offense?
Yeah, I mean, you said it best. I don't really trust anybody at all. Even Deontay Swift, he's kind of starting to decline a little bit. I think they had like the fifth easiest schedule going into the season, and they just are not looking good whatsoever. So I really don't trust anybody. We did that segment of which receivers do you like. Is I told you guys to stay away from any receiver on the Bears, and look what it's got you. You're if only Darian was here, he would be crying because he's like the biggest DJ Moore fan. So I really don't trust anybody.
Yes, I don't think anyone should right now. On a count of 3, we will blow this candle out on this terrible offense. 3, 2, 1. I'm going to go turn my lights back on. Thank you guys for joining us. Never wanted to talk about some of the games this weekend, some of the matchups.
All right. So there are a couple good matchups. There are a bunch of stinkers, but I think the one that I'm mostly excited for is obviously the Steelers and Ravens game. I think that's the most anticipated game of the weekend. That I'm excited for. The Eagles and the Thursday night football, the Eagles and Commanders I'm excited for. Bills and Chiefs always going to be a good game. Feel like the Chargers and the Bengals are also going to be. It's going to be an interesting one. I don't think it's going to be a good game, but I think it's going to be an interesting game. I wish it kind of was one of the afternoon games. I wish they flip flopped the Kansas City and Bills game to Sunday night football like they should, like they have been every single time these two face. I don't know why it's in the afternoon, but yeah, so I'm excited to see a lot. There's a lot of this is like a test week for a lot of the teams where like this is a test week for the Steelers. This is a test week for the Ravens. The Steelers, are you ready to face a good team? Commanders, you guys haven't beat anybody above 500. So are you now you're competing for the division? Are you ready to let's see how you do against the best team in your division so far. Um, the Chargers, same thing. The Bengals, it's time. It's a must-win game if they have any hope, playoff hope. And then the Bills and the Bills and the Chiefs. I mean, it's always going to be a good game with those two teams. So, those are the four games that I'm really excited about.
A lot of great games this weekend. Very interesting week in the NFL. I think this is probably the best game slate we've had so far, and it really is almost the halfway point for the season. With 17 weeks, I guess it would be just a couple weeks past. But these games are going to mean a lot, especially at the end of the season. If the Bills lose to the Chiefs, that's going to mean a whole lot. If the Washington Commanders lose to the Eagles, that's going to mean a whole lot. If the Steelers lose to the Ravens or the Ravens lose to the Steelers, that's going to mean a lot. The Steelers are sitting in first place right now, so this could catch them up. This could catch up the Eagles, or this could extend that lead for the Steelers. A lot of great matchups ahead of us this week. It's a very exciting week for football. I hope you guys enjoyed that low lights segment. Let's get back into the actual regular show, how we usually do it. Nimmer, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's hump day, halfway through the week. Can't wait for tomorrow. Tomorrow's gonna be a really good game. And so yeah, and I'm looking forward to the primetime games because the Thanksgiving slate is god awful. Oh my god, this is probably the worst Thanksgiving slate that we've had in a very, very long time. So I'm excited to. I think I wouldn't say Monday night's gonna be exciting because it's the Texans and the Cowboys. So, but I mean, it's the Battle of Texas, so I understand that. But two pretty good primetime games that I'm excited for. So, how are you doing,
definitely.
Drew?
I'm doing good. Not a ton of stuff really going on for me. I actually just learned the other day that next Saturday, I'll be going to see the Niagara Falls.
Ooh, it's
Yeah.
crazy. It's
Yeah.
insane. I've been there one time. Are you gonna go? I think there's like a Canada entrance and then a United States entrance. Which one are you going on?
That's a good question. Haven't done a lot of research on it, but
Okay.
it's like 3 hours and 35 minutes or something like that from here.
Nice.
So we're gonna make the trip there and then come back in the same day. I got a dog sitter checking in on the dogs just during the afternoon,
Nice.
and we'll make it back. Sammy's friend is coming into town, so we're all going.
Nice. That's exciting.
Yeah, that is like one of those things that I've always wanted to see, and yeah, I'm definitely excited for that.
It's well worth it.
Let's get into the injury report. Not a ton of new injuries today. Some to take notice of. Sam Laporta, tight end for the Lions. He didn't practice again today with that AC joint shoulder injury. If you're looking for a tight end in backup of him, you might want to go with Brock Wright, his backup. I don't really know how well he's going to do. He hasn't really ever shown too much promise, but he might be worth taking a flyer on. There's another backup that might be in line to play, Dawson Knox for the Bills. If Kincaid can't go, Dawson Knox might be another guy you want to take a look at. Packers running back Josh Jacobs, he's questionable with a quad injury. Falcons running back Tyler Algier, he is questionable with a quad injury as well. Chargers running back Gus Edwards, who I told you to pick up off the waivers yesterday, he is questionable with an ankle injury. But I think that's something he's just kind of been dealing with. Hopefully it's not too big of a deal. Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill, he didn't practice today. He's questionable with the wrist injury. Vikings quarterback Sam Darnold is questionable with a hand injury. Steelers wide receiver Van Jefferson, he didn't practice today. He's questionable with a quad injury. Najee Harris also didn't practice as well today with that ankle injury he's dealing with right now. And then something to take notice of, the Commanders corner, Marshawn Lattimore, he is out for this game against the Eagles. He won't be playing until week 12.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's crazy. They just got him too. That's awful. Damn, that's a lot.
My dad's in the chat. Hey Dad, how you doing?
Did you see what he said?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it did.
it's funny. Um,
Uh,
yeah, I'm playing Quaz and he has Laporta, so I'm hoping he's not playing.
I think he picked up Taysom Hill from the Saints,
Uh,
so that's. But I mean, Taysom Hill is a boomer bust guy.
yeah, but knowing my luck, he's gonna boom this week. So
Yeah, maybe. Let's get into our first, I guess, our second segment now. The Fool's Gold or Diamonds. We brought you this segment a couple weeks ago. This is where we talk about players that we think either are a good pickup, a diamond, or a bad pickup that have had good outings. So Fool's Gold. Some of the names today are lesser known names, I would say, but some of them really had some impactful performances, especially this past weekend. Let's go to Marquez Valdez Scantling, MVS from the Saints. He, I mean, I didn't know he was on the Saints just until I saw him catch a pass for the Saints.
seriously, that was one of the most like underrated trades that the Saints did. That's insane. Was it a
But
trade? Was he actually on the Chiefs, or did he get dropped and then they signed him, and that's why
he
people
was
didn't say anything?
he was on the Bills to start the season,
Oh,
and I think they cut him.
oh, interesting.
I think when they brought Amari Cooper in, they cut him.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't really a trade, but
Yeah, they just picked him up. It's interesting. He kind of stepped in that role of Shaheed. That's kind of what I think this role is going to be in the offense for him. Um, he put up 109 yards and a touchdown, scored 25.9 points. This was just off 3 receptions. Nimmer, I know you picked him up in our league. Is he a fool's gold or a diamond, do you think?
I think he's a diamond. He had, like you said, he had 13 targets, and this is his first game. So when you usually go into an offense, well, I don't know if it's his first game actually, because I didn't even know he was on the team. So it could have been his second or third game or whatever. But 13 targets, and honestly, if you look at the wide receivers, if you go to ESPN and go to all like Saints receivers, they're all IR, 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 IR. So the fact that he is a wide receiver one, I mean, I think that he's definitely a diamond. Is he going to do really well? Is he going to average about 15 points? No, but he'll probably get you a double average, like a double digit type of game.
So I'm going to disagree here. I know he had a good first game with the Saints, but if you look at his career, he's been highly boomer bust. I mean, he is a very big boomer bust player. He is one of those guys that has wheels and excels in the deep routes. He also has problems with drops. A lot of problems with drops. Has dropped a lot of big time moment balls. Plenty for the Chiefs. I know the Chiefs the Chiefs fans really wanted to get rid of him a couple of years ago when he was dropping balls in the big moments. So I'm going to say he's fool's gold. I don't think he's going to be that impactful. He might have another game like this where he gives you a 20-point game off of like a 2 touchdown performance where it's like 2 deep shots. The fact that he got 3 receptions, I think, is what kind of scares me with him. He's not ever been a player that's really been like a major factor in fantasy, someone that's like consistent.
I could see that.
Second player, this is from the Colts, Alec Pierce, and I guess all of our views going to change today with the change at quarterback that they made. For those that don't know, they just announced today for the second time this season, Anthony Richardson is going to be the starter. They just went with Joe Flacco for 2 games against the Bills and the Vikings, and Joe Flacco lost both those games, so they said we're going to go back to Anthony. But Pierce in this last game, he had 81 yards and a touchdown. He had, I didn't write the points down. I think he had a pretty decent amount of points, probably 16 points or something like that. Nimmer, Fool's gold or diamond?
So I think he's I don't know. He's on the fringe, I would say. I would say he's fool's gold because he is essentially the wide receiver 3 in that offense. But he does put up there are a couple he has like these runs where um he puts up some great numbers, at least double digits. He had 18 points last week.
18, yep.
Um so I think he's gonna be a boomer bust, but I do like him better with AR rather than Joe Flacco. AR loves to show off his arm and loves the deep ball, and so yeah. So I'd say fringe gold. If I knew AR was coming, I probably would have told you to pick him up as your last spot on your bench if you're in dire need of a receiver. So I would say fool's gold, like fringe fool's gold. There might be like a small little diamond in there.
Yeah, I think he is. It's hard to, like you said, it's hard to judge this guy. He had some success with AR the first stint for Anthony Richardson. He had a little bit of success, had some decent games. I'm shocked that they went back to AR after this. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. I think if Flacco was still there, I'd be really confident to say he's a diamond. But as of right now, I think he is just like the dullest diamond. He might be someone worth picking up. But he's, like Nimmer said, he's not going to be a very consistent player. He's probably going to be a pretty high boomer bust guy. He's actually the wide receiver 33 right now in fantasy. So that's actually pretty high for someone that hasn't had like the best year in fantasy. He really has had some games where he kind of like explodes and then comes back the next week and he has like 5 points. So that's kind of been the story of him this year.
He's kind of like MVS, where he's like he's there just for the deep ball. So if AR connects with him in the deep ball, there's like he'll have like 2 or 3 catches for 100, or just like MVS had last week, where 3 catches over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like those are kind of his stats. So
He's one of those guys I hope the Colts always hold on to because I could see him going right to the Chiefs and having a lot of success. So I hope the Colts hold on to him.
Definitely.
The receiver on the outside, opposite of Michael Pittman Jr., Adonai Mitchell. He just had probably the best game of his season so far. 6 receptions, 71 yards, 13.1 fantasy points. Nimmer, what do you think? Is he fool's gold or diamond?
With Joe Flacco, I would say that he would be closer to diamond, but with AR, I don't think he is diamond material. Even a dull diamond, I trust Alec a lot more than Mitchell. So I'm gonna say fool's gold for this. He's also like, if you think about it, he's the wide receiver 4, and AR is not the type of quarterback that distributes the ball all the time. So I think he's fool's gold.
Yeah, I agree. He's got to be fool's gold. He didn't have a lot of great numbers with AR. It looked like AR was never even looking for him.
Yeah.
So I don't see the end of the season going well for Adonai Mitchell. I'd keep him on the waiver wire. Theo Johnson from the Giants. I thought this was an interesting player to bring up. 2 games ago, he had 51 yards and a touchdown for 14.1 points. And this last game in Germany against Carolina, he had 4 receptions for 37 yards and 7.7 fantasy points. That's not the biggest performance, but I think it does say something. He's had 6 targets in each game these past 2 games. Nimmer, fool's gold or diamond?
I still think he's fool's gold. I mean, I feel like if you're in a 10-man league, I wouldn't even put him in the top 20 tight ends. So I definitely think that he's fool's gold. He's had 2 games with 0 targets, and then he's had 1 game with 1 target. So I mean, the past 2 games were great, but they're also playing Carolina, and then who else? Who did they play before that? They played, I forgot, but it wasn't a good team. So I would say fool's gold. Plus you just can't trust Jones right now. So I say fool's gold.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a quarterback change on the way. I don't love that for Theo Johnson. For the past 2 games, it seemed like he was starting to get a little steam. If they go forward with a new quarterback, I think he'll probably lose some of that. So for now, I'm going to say he's a fool's gold. He might be worth taking a look at later this season. I do kind of like what I see out of him, but fool's gold for now. Another tight end, Tanner Hudson. So if you were like me before last Thursday's game, you saw Mike Gesicki on the waiver wire and you thought, you know what? With T. Higgins out, I'm going to go pick up Mike Gesicki. And he's going to do really well for me tonight. I'm going to start him. And then Tanner Hudson came out and he gave you 6 receptions, 42 yards, and a touchdown for 16.3 points, doubling what Gesicki gave you. So my question to you, Nim, is this guy a fool's gold or a diamond pickup?
I still think he's a fool's gold. I mean, T. Higgins he's played maybe half the season, if that. And I think this is the only good game that he's actually played. I think that was the right move. Hindsight's always 20/20, but I think Joe Burrow trusts Gesicki a lot more than Hudson. I know I just suck at English. I'm just gonna move on. He just got hurt. So out of the 6 games that he has played, he has had he hasn't had a game besides this one that has been over 4 targets. This is the first game this year that he's had that he reached over 4 targets, and actually, I'm sorry, he had 1 game that was over 4 targets, and that was against the Ravens. Oh yeah, so that was this past week. So, and the Ravens have a bad pass defense, so like you kind of have to keep that into consideration. So I think he's fool's gold.
Yeah, I think he's fool's gold too. I know Tanner Hudson's kind of been around the Bengals for the past couple of years. They use multiple tight ends in their system. Gesicki, Tanner Hudson, Drew Sample. I think they had another one. His name might have been like All or something like that. So they use quite a few different tight ends, and I think it's mostly because their offensive line is not very good, so they have other guys there to block. And Gesicki is more of the receiving tight end. But I would say this game that he just had is probably it's not going to continue. You're not going to see this again for a while from Tanner Hudson. And if he does have another game like this, me and Nimmer are both wrong, and good for Tanner Hudson.
Yeah. Which isn't often that we're both wrong.
And let's go to Elijah Moore. We were both wrong about the Raiders, though, this year. That was for sure.
But we were right about the Cardinals. So,
true.
You can't get them all right, but,
Elijah Moore. Now, he's an interesting player. He's owned in 6% of leagues right now. So not really anybody has him. The last game, what I want to point out, the last 3 games is the targets that he's had. His most recent game, he had nine targets. The game before that, he had 12 targets. And the game before that, he had 6 targets. So he's racking up quite a few targets over these last 3 games. He didn't have a ton of points this most recent game, but the 2 games before that, he had 16.5 points and 10.1 points. He is a very skilled receiver, I think, can run good routes, has always kind of been on the fringe of like, is this guy going to be a good receiver, a good wide receiver 2 for somebody? It really has never come to fruition. But Nimmer, what do you think? Fool's gold or diamond?
Yeah, I think that with the Browns offense is just rough in general. But the past 3 games, and that's when Amari Cooper was left or got traded or whatever. So I think that now he's getting a lot more of the targets. I'm sorry, not Amari Cooper, Deshaun Watson. So now that Jameis Winston came in, that's when he started getting a lot more of those targets and catches. I mean, with the game that he had 6 targets, he caught all those balls. The game that he had 12 targets, he got 8 out of the 12 balls. So, and with the 9 targets, he only caught 3. So I don't know what that was all about, but so he's still catching the ball, and I think that's why he's getting a lot more trust. And since he's only on 6% of the leagues, if you can get a wide receiver one now in week 11, I mean, you might as well put him on the bench instead of maybe even replace him with one of the players that you're handicapping. So I think he's a diamond.
Yeah, I think so too. And for him to be only owned in 6% of leagues right now, I think that is a really good chance for a lot of people watching this show. Um, if you're in a 12-man league and he is like the last guy you want to put on your bench, I think that's a great pickup. If you're in need for a receiver and you're just looking to take a waiver on somebody, I think I would take a waiver on Elijah Moore. I like what I see from him when he plays. Like Nimmer said, these targets, these catches that he's putting up, I think he definitely deserves to be rostered in a lot of leagues. And for him to only be picked up in 6% of leagues right now is a little crazy to me. So I say go ahead and pick him up.
Yeah, definitely.
Diamond. Although I think I like Cedric Tillman more.
That's true. I think
That's
so.
the hard.
So he is a wide receiver too. I guess I forgot about Cedric Tillman.
And then you have Judy, which
I
Judy hasn't
mean,
really been doing anything.
yeah, he's the wide receiver 3 in that offense.
But
Unfortunately.
man, go from Alabama's star receiver to the wide
Yeah.
receiver 3 for the Browns.
Yeah. One of the worst offenses in the league. Poor guy. It's awful.
Let's get into fantasy MVP. So, if you've been paying attention to this segment, Nimmer actually called the fantasy MVP last week. It was the guy going up against his team, so that was probably not a good feeling for him. But
No.
he did have a correct call. I think that was the first one we called correctly on this show. The fantasy MVP, who we think is going to score the most points heading into this weekend. Nimmer, let's see if you can do it again. Who do you got this week?
So this one I was kind of skeptical. I don't know why. I have a feeling about this guy, and I feel like he's gonna pop off this week. And that's Jahmyr Gibbs. The reason that I'm kind of iffy on him is because of Monty. I feel like if Monty wasn't there taking those red zone rushes, then that would be a little bit different. But nevertheless, he still is the wide receiver or the running back 5 in fantasy in a PPR league. So I like my chance. I like Gibbs. He's also going against the Jags. The Jags defense sucks. There's no two ways around it. They're 27th in scoring, and while the Lions are second in scoring, the Jags defense is 20th in rushing when the Jags offense is 7th in rushing. And then against running backs, the Jags are 30th against running backs. So I like Gibbs, and is this a way to kind of get back because I just traded for Gibbs? Maybe, but I really like my chances with Gibbs this week.
And I have got Jalen Hurts from the Eagles. I think, like we stated earlier, Marshawn Lattimore is out for this game. I think that's big news for Jalen Hurts. He's kind of been on a hot streak. I don't know his numbers exactly, but I know 2 games ago he had a really big game. In the last week's game, he had a pretty good game as well. He's been kind of hovering around that 30 points. And I think this week against Washington here for the Thursday night game, the Thursday night game last week is where the fantasy MVP was laying in. I think this Thursday we'll have another fantasy MVP, the guy that's going to score the most points, Jalen Hurts. I could see him hurting Washington in multiple ways, scoring with his legs, maybe a tush push or two, and scoring with his arm. So I'm going to take Jalen Hurts scoring the most fantasy points this week.
The funny thing is that they were both number 1 too. They both have the same number. So.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I didn't even notice that. Let's get into start and sit. So if we tell you this week, start this player, we have confidence this player is going to have a big game. We've been wrong here for sure. We've been wrong with start and sit. So take this with a grain of salt. Nimmer, who do you have this week?
So we just talked about Jamar Chase popping off against Baltimore. So I like my chances with George Pickens against Baltimore. There's no two ways around it. Baltimore's defense or pass defense is really, really bad. And so I think that George Pickens is finally getting his groove with Russell Wilson. And I think that this is a big game. I think that they really circled this game in particular all season long, because this is going to set the tone for the rest of the year, honestly. Going to have back-to-back tough games. Well, next week we play Cleveland, but you guys know what I mean. So I really like my chances with George Pickens this week. However, I don't like my chances with CeeDee Lamb, which is crazy to say because he is arguably the top 5 best receiver in the league overall, not this year, but just overall. But and I know he was your number 1 draft pick. I have him in one of my leagues, and I can't see it. I don't see that CeeDee Lamb is going to do really well this week. He's going against the Texans defense, who pretty much shut out the Lions, who is the second best offense in the league in the first half, and they have Jared Goff. So now I don't even know who is starting. Is it Rush or is it Lance?
I think I don't know. I don't know if it's been decided yet because Lance came in for a little bit last week.
So, I mean, that's kind of my point, too. I mean, we don't even know who his quarterback's going to be. So, I just don't see CeeDee doing well this week. So, I would unfortunately sit him.
Yeah, we did our trade away segment yesterday. CeeDee Lamb is on that list. I would trade him away.
Yeah, I've been trying.
I don't know who's taking him, but
yeah,
I'm sure you could get. Darian has talked to me. He said, I'll give you him for cheap. And I said, what is cheap? And he said, what did he say?
DK he said, or something like that.
He said Cooper Kupp and like Tracy or something. I was like, how is that cheap, my friend? What world are we living in?
Oh man, Darian. Oh man.
Let me see what he said, because maybe it wasn't that bad. I do remember.
Yeah, I mean that is something Darian kind of would just imply because he likes shooting his shots. But
he said Kupp and Ladd.
Ladd, oh my gosh.
So
I feel like Ladd and CeeDee would be a pretty good trade. I feel like they're on the same level. But throwing in Kupp is ridiculous.
Kupp, I mean, come on, what the hell are we talking about?
I know. Oh my god.
So for my start, I have Devon Achane from the Dolphins. I know that last week we were pretty high on him, especially in like the TikTok lives. Darian named him his fantasy MVP last week, and he didn't really pull through. Had, I think, 10 points last week. But I think this week he's got a really good matchup. He's going against the Raiders. Everybody and their mom has been running on the Raiders. Javonte Williams had success against the Raiders, and he's really not even a starter anymore. So I think Devon Achane has a big day in store for him. Really, the Raiders, I think, are still top 10 against the pass. So the guy I think I have the most confidence in this matchup is Achane. I think Achane is a definite start. If you have him, don't play around. Put him on the roster, have him starting, and you should be okay. And for my sit, I have Nick Chubb. And I know there's a lot of people wondering about Nick Chubb this week. And I'm a little concerned still with him. I know coming off the bye, there's this thought that he's put in a lot of more work this week and his conditioning's probably better because he's had 2 weeks of action, a bye week now, and now he plays the Saints. And I know a lot of people are saying the Saints are not very good against the run. I think they're 23rd against the run this year. Really, I think that number is a little inflated with all the injuries that they had. They were in a lot of games that were just blowouts because you had Spencer Rattler playing and people were just kind of doing whatever they wanted on offense. And you look at the running backs that they've gone up against last week. Atlanta, they went up against Bijan. Bijan had a great game. Carolina, Chuba Hubbard there. He's a top 5 rusher this year. The Chargers, they're known as a running offense. The Broncos, they didn't have that great of a day. Oh, no, they did, actually. Javonte had a really good game against them. So I know that it's kind of been a rocky road for the Saints, but I don't really have a lot of confidence in Nick Chubb. They still have Demario Douglas on their side. They still have some of these guys that have been in this defense for a while. Cam Jordan, a good defensive line around Cam Jordan and the rest of that defense. So I'm going to say sit Nick Chubb this week, and I could be wrong, but I feel like he's not going to give you. I think at the most he'll give you 12 points.
So let me ask you a question, because this is my dilemma in one of my leagues. Would you start CeeDee Lamb or Nick Chubb in flex?
That's hard.
Mm-hmm.
That's really hard. I want to say CD. I know you just had him as your sit, but
I mean that kind of shows you what I did. I did do Nick Chubb, but I don't know, and it's a PPR league. I just don't know.
With CD, I mean, he still had 10 targets last week.
Yeah,
with all the mayhem going on. So
with the sun, and
with the sun,
it's a night game.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe he can see the ball better this time.
Yeah, the lights maybe.
10 targets for 21 yards though. So that's not great. He just has to break one though. He just has to break one. Yeah. I think I trust more of that than I trust Nick Chubb going up against the Saints run defense, to be honest.
Okay, good to
know. That is all of our fantasy segments. Now we will go into the against the spread.
I thought I changed it. My bad.
It's all good. We have week 11. I think I'm at 90 and something now.
Oh,
could
really?
be wrong. Maybe. I think so. Or 89. Let me see. Oh, you're right. 87 and 65. Yeah. I was getting ahead of myself.
Now you're 87 and 90. Now imagine you only
That'd be crazy.
Right? It would be crazy.
Well, I mean, I just got to pick against the Jets every single week, and I think I'd get there. But
this is going to be an interesting game this week with the Jets. But we'll get into it.
Hopefully, Darian puts in his picks this week. I have a feeling he's not going to.
I have a feeling too. So if you're watching, Darian, make sure you cancel the video and put in your picks.
And I'm not texting you to remind you.
Yeah, me neither. And you can't get mad at us for not texting you. It's on you. You're a grown man.
So let's get into the Commanders and Eagles game. The Eagles, this is at home for the Eagles. They are favored by 3.5 points. Who do you have covering here, Nim?
So I think the Eagles are gonna win, but I think 3.5. That half kind of scares me. Um, so I like the Commanders, but I kind of want to switch it to the Eagles. Uh, I think I'm gonna switch to the Eagles now that I knew that Lattimore's not playing. I think it's still gonna be close. I mean the Ravens beat the Commanders by 7, so I think it's gonna be that type of game.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an absolute shootout. Um, I think that it's really hard to pick who's going to cover. I mean, you just saw Nimmer go back and forth on that. So that's kind of where my head's at. I'm going to go Commanders. I think this has a potential to be like a 31-28 type game. So that would make the Commanders cover here.
Let's see, 31-28. I wrote down the scores the last time we did this, but I completely forgot. So I'm gonna say this is gonna be. I think it's gonna be like a 31 38. 31-38. So it's 6. That's gonna be mine.
Nice. Nice. So we both think it's going to be very high scoring.
Yeah.
Good game for Thursday for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have the Packers and the Bears, the team we just kind of beat up on to start the show. Packers are favored by 6.5 points coming into Chicago. Nimmer, who do you have covering?
This is another one I was kind of going back and forth. You have the new offensive coordinator, so that can go either really, really good or really, really bad. But then you on the other side, you have the Packers coming off a bye. But I think 6.5 is going to be too high. This is another one that it might be high scoring. I think it's going to be in the 20s. It's not going to be in the 30s like the Eagles and the Commanders, but I think it's going to be. I like the Bears. I think the Bears will at least cover. Do they win? Probably not, but I think that the Bears are going to cover.
Yeah. So the Packers came off a bye. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
Yes. I like that. I have the Packers covering here. It's a tough game to say, but I think Caleb Williams, I think his confidence is a little shaken right now. They haven't been putting up a lot of points.
Mm-hmm.
We've kind of beat that over the head this week. So I'm going to take the Packers here. Jaguars at the Lions. The line is 13.5 points for the Lions.
It's crazy.
Probably the biggest line I think we've seen this year so far.
Yeah.
But if you watch the Lions games, they kind of embarrass a lot of people. So, Nimmer, who do you have covering?
Yeah, and I think they're going to embarrass the Jags. I mean, the Jags have been playing pretty good. They've been keeping it close, but I think the Lions are just such a juggernaut, and I think that the culture there is just insane that there's no way that they don't just go balls to the wall with this. There's just too much firepower to even contain the Jets or the Jaguars. So I think it's going to be at least like a 14. It's going to be like the red zone only scores shows when it's a touchdown. They're not even going to play this game at all. So give me the points. I think at least 2 touchdowns is a safe bet.
Man, so I originally picked the Jags, and now I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking it's Mac Jones playing against the Lions.
Yeah. Oh,
I
it's
don't
Mac Jones.
love.
What happened to Trevor?
They said he's going to sit out this week and come back after their bye week.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go the Lions. Mac Jones, he didn't have a very good game last week against the Vikings. The Lions are, I think, even more intimidating. So I'm going to go Lions, even though I don't really like 13.5 points. That's a lot of points.
Yeah.
But with the way the Lions have kind of been doing it this year, I think that's the safe pick. The Vikings at Tennessee. Vikings are favored by 6.5 points. So they pretty much have to win by a touchdown to cover here. This is in Tennessee. Nimmer, who do you have covering?
This is another one I'm kind of staying away from. points wise, because the Vikings' offense has been really, really bad. But I think that the Vikings defense, is going to win them this game. I'd be shocked if the Titans even score. So give me the Vikings.
Yeah, give me the Vikings too. The Titans have been an interesting team to watch this year because their defense really isn't that bad. They have some good statistical numbers on the defensive side. They're decent against the run and the pass. And Darnold has kind of been throwing some picks out there, which hasn't been fun to watch. But I'm going to say the Vikings kind of pull it together here and win by at least a touchdown. Raiders at Miami. Dolphins are favored by 7.5 points. Who do you have covering?
The Dolphins are going to completely demolish the Raiders. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. I would be shocked if the Raiders also even score a touchdown. The way that the Dolphins defense looked the last game, it was just insane.
Yeah, to go off of that, I think the defense is really looking good. That defensive line looks really good. They got after Matt Stafford pretty heavily last week, and it's not like the Raiders have the best offensive line, and Gardner Minshew is Gardner Minshew. So I'm going to say they win by more than a touchdown, and maybe the Dolphins are in a little bit of a hot streak here. Rams at the Patriots. Man, this is another interesting game. A lot of interesting lines this week.
Yeah, the books are sharp this week.
Yeah.
But I think the Rams pull it off. I mean, I think that with Drake May, I don't know actually. I kind of want to go to the. I think I'm gonna switch it to the Pats. Drake May looks really good. The defense looks pretty good. You know what? Give me the Pats.
Okay.
To cover, not to win.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Rams. It's a hard game to pick for, but I'm gonna say the Rams cover just because they're the better team, better offensive team. Hopefully, they watch the film against the Dolphins and fix some things with the O-line. That O-line has really been struggling this year, and I feel bad for Matt Stafford because he gets hit on like every single play.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say they cover here. Cleveland going up against the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are favored by 1.5 points. This will be probably not a game highly televised, I would think.
Yeah.
But who do you have covering?
Yeah, I'm not even gonna. I don't know. This is an insane game that it's even on the books, but I got the Saints. The Browns are just so bad, and I think the new coach that the Saints got is really like they really bought into him, and that's really the only reason I'm picking the Saints.
Yeah, I'm going Saints too. I think overall they have the more talented roster. Ravens at the Steelers. I'm assuming you're going Steelers.
Yes, the disrespect, man. Honestly, this is super disrespectful. 3.5 points, and we're at home, and we have a better defense. This is kind of that. This is very disrespectful. So give me the Steelers.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the home team here too. I'm gonna go with the Steelers. I don't know if Steelers win this game, but I think it'll be a very close loss if they don't win this game. I think it's going to be a very close game either way.
Lamar Jackson is 1-7 against the Steelers.
I've heard that stat before.
7. So, give me the Steelers. Remember what I said last week? Tomlin knows how to play against rookie quarterbacks. Well, Lamar does not know how to play against the Steelers. This is probably the best defense that he's faced all year. Maybe except Kansas City, I guess. But I think we're better defense in Kansas City.
I do feel pretty confident Steelers are going to cover here. 3.5 points is too much for this matchup. I think it's going to be a close game. Might be back-to-back 1 point differences
Yeah, that would be insane.
for the Steelers.
It's gonna be interesting because there's so many different. I mean, number one, it's a rivalry, and number two, Deontay Johnson's on the Ravens now. Number three, Patrick Queen is on the Steelers now, and then who was the name that you said again earlier?
Deshaun Elliott.
Deshaun Elliott is on the Steelers now. So it's like there's a bunch of different, not rivalries, but like I don't know. It's gonna be weird. A lot of team players playing their old team.
Probably going to be kind of a chippy game.
Oh yeah, it always is in general.
Yeah.
So
The Colts coming to New York. I think the line is 3.5.
yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know why I didn't update that.
And this is with Anthony Richardson playing quarterback. So, Nimmer, who do you got covering here?
Give me the Colts. I think
I thought you were going to go Jets.
I kind of want to go back to the Jets because they can't be that bad, but you know what? Give me no because they just looked so bad against the Cardinals. They look so bad, and the Colts are. I feel like the Colts are very close to the Cardinals, like playing level, to a certain extent. Obviously, I think the Cardinals are better than the Colts, but like, I don't know. Yeah, give me the Colts.
Yeah, I didn't go with the Jets last week because they burned me so much. I might just never pick the Jets again. So it helped. It worked last week. The Cardinals ended up blowing out the Jets. So I'm going to go with the Colts here. I'm going to say that Anthony Richardson comes in pretty enthused after those two games off the bench.
Yeah.
Falcons at Denver playing the Broncos. The Broncos are favored 1.5 points here. Pretty much a pick'em game.
Mm-hmm. This is gonna be a tough one. I think the Broncos defense is gonna win the game. I think that Kirk Cousins is on fire, but so is Bo Nix, and I feel like after that heartbreaking loss, the Broncos are really gonna try to, come back and kind of just show them why they should have beat the Chiefs.
Yeah, and I've got the Falcons.
Some fan, what the hell?
Hey man, I think if we took my record this year on just the Broncos, I think I'd be almost perfect. I'm not really sure what it is, but I think I've called it almost every single time who's going to win against the Broncos. I just think coming off that loss, I think they're still going to have that let down feeling in the locker room. And I think you see that in football a lot where you come off like a really heartbreaking loss and that kind of carries into the next week. I think that's what's going to happen here. I think it'll be a close game. I'm going to say Younghoe Koo kicks it in for the win. Another heartbreaker. But thankfully for the Broncos, they have a somewhat of an easy schedule after the Falcons. Seattle at 49ers in San Francisco. 6.5 points for San Francisco. What do you think happens here, Nim?
Give me the better team. The Niners are second in the division, and I don't even know how long, in like at least a couple years, probably since the Rams went to the Super Bowl. So give me the Niners. This is a must-win game for them, and the Seahawks.
Yeah,
good.
Like you said, must-win game for the Niners. I'm going with the Niners. Seahawks really haven't been putting it together on offense this year. I do think there's a chance DK plays well, but other than that, I don't see a ton of production from the offensive side for the Seahawks. Geno has kind of been riding back. I don't know if anyone has noticed. So I'm going to take the Niners. Chiefs playing the Bills. This is in Buffalo. I know a lot of people can't wait for this game. I know a lot of people want to see the Chiefs lose. So, Nimmer, who do you got covering here?
Yeah, me included, but I don't think this is going to be the game. I think that Patrick Mahomes is an underdog. Actually, the line before was I think the Chiefs above or the Chiefs as favorited by 2, but then they put in the home underdog or the home field advantage, and then that's the line. So I think Mahomes is an underdog. I don't know the record off the top of my head, but it's very favorable for him. So give me the Chiefs somehow, some way. They're gonna win.
Yeah, I'm gonna just go with the Bills. I'm gonna go with the home team. I'm gonna say that the Bills give. No, I won't say that. I won't say that the Bills beat them, but
I mean, if they're
um,
covering, they have to.
yeah, that's tough. That makes me want to think that the Chiefs are gonna cover here if I don't think they're gonna beat
I
them.
I did see a stat that like the refing that game, the Chiefs are like 5-0 with the
Mm,
head ref
wow.
official or something like that. So it was some TikTok, so I don't know how accurate it is, but
I know the Bills really want to win this game,
hmm
and I'm thinking about it, and you think about um, the Bills losing to the Ravens the way they did, and the Chiefs beat the Ravens to start the year. So that is tough. That is a tough. Give me the Chiefs. I hate
yeah.
that I'm doing this. I hate that I'm doing that, but I think I'm starting to really think about all the matchups. They're like first in the league against the run. So that means a bad day for James Cook, bad day for Josh Allen running the ball. So
Yeah, and they know how to play
I'm not,
against him too. Like
yeah.
yeah, he can't put the team on his back for that much.
Hopefully Amari Cooper plays and gets like 4 touchdowns. That's what I'm
Yeah,
hoping.
but I feel
But
like this is a win-win for us because if the Chiefs win, then we get like a point, like we got it right. But then if the Chiefs
yeah,
lose, like
then
we're
we're happy.
happy because the Chiefs
Yeah,
lost. Exactly. So it's a
exactly.
win-win
Yeah,
situation for us.
definitely. Let's do the Bengals and the Chargers. We Nimmer kind of highlighted this game before we kind of got into the show. The Chargers are favored by 1.5 points in Los Angeles. Who do you have covered here, Nim?
Give me the Bengals. I think they're starting to get their feet underneath them. And the Chargers. I think I talked about it yesterday. It was my hot take. I think that the Chargers are just gonna go downhill from here. I don't think it's gonna be a low scoring game. I think it's gonna be a shootout. But I think that the Bengals offense is much better than the Chargers offense. So give me the Bengals.
Yeah, give me the Bengals too. I think they're feeling confident, especially after the offensive numbers that they just put up. I mean, they've been putting up great offensive numbers all year.
Insane.
Um, I just think I think they're going to cover here. I think it'll be a close game though. The Texans at Houston. Texans are favored by 7.5 points. Probably a little bit of a rivalry here. Houston going to Dallas. So who do you have covering?
Yeah, it's the Battle of Texas. So I'm gonna go with the team that has Texas or Tex in the name, with the Texans. The Cowboys, kind of mentioned it earlier. The Cowboys are in shambles. Um, and honestly, I mean, what are the Stars really playing for? Like what is CD really playing for? I think this is the first time in his career where he's not playing for a playoff spot or anything like that. So give me the Texans. I think that the fact that they lost to the Lions after beating them by 20 points, that's going to light a fire under them.
Yeah, give me the Texans too. Cowboys suck. They are going to be really bad for the rest of the season.
Yep.
So why don't we get into your locks, Nimmer? You're coming off of a 2 week winning streak with the parlays. Let's see if you can give us 3 in a row.
Three's the magic number, Drew. Three's the magic number. All right, so we're gonna go back to the over unders. We've been hot on that, so we're gonna keep that going. So this is the slate I have for today. We have 4 legs. We have a Thursday night. We have a Thursday night slate. We have the under or the overs. We kind of mentioned that it's going to be a shootout. The Commanders and the Eagles, I think it's going to be a shootout. I think it might even go into the 30s. So this is going to be a sweat-free play. Then we have the Dolphins and the Raiders. Drew kind of mentioned that the Raiders are, even though their team sucks, their pass defense is I think he said like top 10, top 10 in the league. Plus Miami has hit the under in 8 out of the past 11 games. So give me the under in that. Then we have the Vikings and the Titans. Both offenses are doing well. Both defenses are doing well. So give me that under for I don't think that they're going to both break 20. And last but not plus Minnesota has hit the under 9 out of the past 12 times as a favorite. So give me that under in that one. And then last but not least, we have Seattle and San Francisco. Most divisional games are going to be pretty low scoring, but Seattle has hit the under in the 8 out of the past 11 games as a road team. So give me the under in that. Let's go 3-0 in the unders plays. So we have the unders, and I like to trickle the anytime touchdown parlays. So here is the anytime touchdown parlay. We're sticking with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has scored a touchdown 5 out of this past 6 games. Then give me Jahmyr Gibbs. I think that the Lions are going to be running all over the Jags. It's going to be a high-scoring game for the Lions. I don't know if the Jags are going to be high-scoring, but I know the Lions are going to rack up the points. If you don't like Jahmyr Gibbs, if you want to go with Montgomery, I don't blame you. I like Jahmyr Gibbs. Might be biased because he's on my fantasy team. But so give me Jahmyr Gibbs. And last but not least, give me Kyren Williams. He's had a touchdown 7 out of the last 9 games, and I think that when they're watching film, Matt Stafford's going to see that Kyren Williams was open on that last touchdown or that last drive. So I think that he's going to hit him a lot more, and I think that Kyren Williams is going to score. So those are my plays. Don't forget to gamble responsibly. But yeah, and the past 2, as a recap, the past 2 wins have actually brought us back. We are kind of in the negative, but now we are right back where we started. Both of those parlays, you should do half a unit. So my unit size is $10. I'm doing $5 each. So don't forget to gamble responsibly.
2 weeks ago, I gave you the blessing on one of the bets. I think it was the unders bet that you put. I said that one's going to be the one that hits. Mm-hmm. This week, I think I actually feel better in the anytime touchdown parlay with Jalen Hurts, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Kyren. Okay. I think that'll be the one that hits. I don't know about the other unders and overs. I like that one too. Hopefully they both hit.
Yeah, they're both gonna hit.
Hopefully they both hit. But I do like that anytime touchdown parlay you put together. Okay. Well, we were going to go live on TikTok. I just got the news from Sammy. The Penguins game's about to end, and I have to go pick her up. So,
okay. Fair enough.
Are you going to go live then by yourself?
No, I'm not. I'll probably just Uber Eats or something.
That's tough going live by yourself.
Yeah.
I don't think none of us from the podcast have had the cojones to go live by ourselves yet. So maybe someday we'll do that. But
I just don't want to be the type of person. I don't know. It's just weird with just one person. I don't want to be that cringe person that's just like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Like, I feel like it's nice to have 2 opinions and stuff. Like,
it's nice to bounce off of each other for sure.
Exactly. So
yeah, definitely. But that is it from us. Nimmer, you want to say anything before we get out of here?
Nope. I do have a motivational quote. I downloaded this app, and it gives me a motivational quote on my home screen. So the motivational quote is progress, not perfection. So I'm gonna end on that.
Awesome. And for me, I would say watch football. There's my motivational quote. We will see you guys. We will see you guys next week. Thank you guys for watching. It's been a wonderful week.